Well, the clock has officially struck noon, which means good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am on the outskirts of Parkland, Washington, at a ratchet-ass gas station, fueling up because I'm driving to Mount Rainier National Park. Just wrapped up a video shoot earlier this morning, and I thought to myself, why waste the second half of the day doing nothing when I could enjoy the beautiful weather that we've been having here in Washington and cruise up to Mount Rainier National Park and shoot some photos and potentially get an epic sunset in. So I brought the Mamiya 7ii, both my lenses, a few rolls of film. I think it'll be a pretty awesome evening up at Mount Rainier National Park. The weather here in Washington recently has been unbelievable. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Today and tomorrow look like the last nice days before the rain starts cruising in again, so I'm going to try to take advantage. And yeah, that begins in Mount Rainier National Park. And yes, don't worry, we have the beverage to kickstart our voyage. Nothing like a good old can of poison to start off the photo journey. These things are so fucking good though. God. Red Bull knows how to make a good tasting beverage, I'll tell you that. Well, I figured this might happen. Driving up to Mount Rainier National Park, you go through a lot of rural areas, and the rural areas here in Washington tend to have a lot of relics lying around, interesting things and scenes to photograph. So usually when I am driving to a destination, I'll end up stopping a few times to photograph stuff I see on the side of the road and whatnot. And I've spotted this old Toyota in this kind of open field with a for sale sign on it. It's kind of an interesting photo, I think, so I'm gonna load up a roll here and take this, and then we'll continue on. Start off with a nice little vertical photo of this car, straight on, F11, 1/500th of a second here. Got some shadows in the foreground, which I'm not thrilled about, but it's all right. There's kind of a perfect little angle in between these two small trees that are poking up in these shrubs here in the foreground. Even though it's super shady in the foreground, since the car itself is really well illuminated by the sun, this could have the potential to be a little interesting. We're gonna expose for the car in the field, so all this stuff in the foreground is gonna be very dark, but that's all right since that's not really the focus of the composition here. So F11, 1/500th again. All right, I'm gonna bump out a little wider down the road and get more of a wide shot of this scene because there's a little farm in the background that I think will be interesting to photograph. So walk down the road a little bit and try that. So don't get me wrong, the 43mm is still my favorite lens for the Mamiya, but there's plenty of situations I run into where the 65 is a better choice, and I think this is one of them. The 65 is a little bit more of a standard lens. The perspective on it is a little bit more clinical and straightforward than the 43. The 43 is more dramatic, and for this shot I just kind of want it to be just a standard focal, more of a standard focal length, so we'll go for the 65 on this one as well. Hey everybody, just popping in for a quick behind the scenes scanning tip. If you're scanning your stuff at home and you do your conversion and everything's all out of whack, you're confused as to why the image is red, the highlights in these blades of grass completely blown out, and you're a little frustrated and confused, what you can do is when you have the image white balanced and you're ready to convert, go into the crop tool and just bring this down into the area, the highlights that's extremely blown out. Just bring the size of the image down to something like this. Now go into convert, and Negative Lab Pro is just going to read this section of the image. So now you'll notice that the highlights and the blades of grass are much more retained. The colors are still a little weird, of course, but this is a much more workable image now compared to what we had before. So now if we adjust the crop again, go into Negative Lab Pro, we can balance this out pretty easily, and we've retained all that highlight information, because it's frustrating when you shoot on film. Film has an enormous amount of dynamic range. It's really able to retain a lot of information from the scene that you capture, and then you get the scans back and you're like, I thought this was film. Why are my highlights blown out? Why are the shadows completely crushed? The information's likely there. It's just about extracting it in the right way. So, helpful little tip for you if you use Negative Lab Pro and you're not quite getting the results you want to be getting. Try adjusting that crop to what Negative Lab Pro is actually converting. Mess around with it a little bit and you might find the results start to get a lot better. And we might as well do one more for the road, right? Ooh, that last one might be the winner. Well, unfortunately, and this might come as a big shock to many of you, but I'm an ignorant buffoon. Apparently, the road from Longmire to Paradise, which is, that's why you come to Mount Rainier National Park, is to drive that road and go up to Paradise, is closed Tuesdays through Thursdays. You want to guess what day it is today? It certainly isn't Friday to Monday. It's a Tuesday. I had no idea that that was a thing. I don't remember it being a thing in the past, but I guess it is now. And what are you going to do about it? So we are driving the road from the entrance of Mount Rainier National Park to Longmire. There's still cool stuff to see along the way during this stretch of the road, but I was really looking forward to getting up on the mountain and catching sunset from up there, because that's where like the real magic happens. But what are you gonna do? So I've pulled off here because there's a little bridge with the river flowing underneath it. Might have some potential, we'll see. Yeah, just play it by ear. That's what ends up happening a lot of the time on these trips. You run into little things you didn't expect and you just gotta make the most of it. The light that's hitting the river isn't super ideal right now. The sun would have been poking through this gap in the trees probably about 30 minutes ago, but of course I didn't get the timing right on that. I'm gonna pop over to the other side of the road after this because the sun is hitting that side of the river and illuminating it quite a bit more than where I'm at right now. So that could be a more interesting photo. We'll give it a try. There's also a lot of ice piling up on the rocks down by the river, so getting up close and shooting that might be interesting as well. But yeah, let's just shoot a little bit and hope that we come out with a decent one. So the reading I'm getting is f11 and in between 1/15th and 1/30th. So we'll go ahead and do 1/15th of a second. But I'm gonna put an ND filter on the camera so that we can smooth out this water a little bit. So even in the video frame, you can probably see how much brighter the sky is than these shadows down where we're walking around at. Dynamic range is pretty extreme. It's gonna be a lot even for film to handle. This water is running through this little passage underneath the bridge here. And I originally wasn't super attracted to the idea of getting it in the frame, but since these rocks down below are covered in ice and there's a bit of frost above this waterway that runs under the bridge, I think it's actually kind of interesting. And if I put the 43 mil on, I can kind of cover this shaded part of the water. It'll be a little bit more of an even exposure, I'm hoping. So we're gonna try that. F16, 1 second, 3 stops of ND. All right, so now I've moved down to the river level. Just shot a photo of the tunnels that the river is flowing underneath and was able to get this ice on top of the rocks. So hopefully that turned out decent, but now I flipped the camera around and I'm gonna shoot this kind of stair step in the river here. A lot of moving water, and the sun's actually poking through right now, creating some mixed lighting in the river, which in this case scenario looks pretty good. It creates some depth and just adds a little bit of perspective to the frame, I think. F16, 1 second, 5 stops of ND. Gotta load up a new roll and pop over to the other side of the bridge where hopefully this part of the river is still illuminated a little bit and we can kind of get a different style of photo. one that's got a little bit more sunlight involved. People give me shit for that film roll-up method, the lick roll-up, but I'm telling you, it's the most efficient way to do it. Oh, shit. Okay, let's see what awaits us on the other side of the road. I don't mind what I'm seeing, more light. The river I don't think is as interesting, but I don't mind the light, the way that it's hitting it right now, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and fire off a frame here. Okay, so I like the way the sunlight's hitting the trees, so I'm gonna put the 65 on and just shoot more of a level shot rather than down at the river. Shoot a little more level, we'll get the river kind of towards the bottom end of the frame. We'll get that far part of the river. And but mostly I wanted to focus just on the light hitting the trees because it does look pretty good. Okay, so I've decided to go 1/15 of a second. Just there on the side of overexposure, f11, no ND, 65mm lens. Got to get real close to the Mamiya just so you can hear the shutter. It's so dang quiet. Well, you can see what a difference some additional sunlight can make in the frame. This is the first image from the day that I think turned out pretty solid. The color of the tree branches is very pleasant and the river is well positioned, winding from the bottom through the middle of the frame. So you might be noticing with this video and the last video that I posted that these are much simpler videos than what I usually make. Trying something new for the new year. I want to just kind of loosen up a little bit, not feel the pressure of having to put out a full-blown 25-minute episode that takes me 50 hours to edit, twice a month. I know this style may not be as high-paced and, with no music or whatever, it might be a little bit more raw feeling, but I think it provides the opportunity to talk a little bit more about the process of going out and taking photos, and just gives a little more insight into what's going through my mind when I'm going out and doing this stuff. So it definitely probably feels a lot more vloggy, I guess, which I'm just interested to hear if people like that format. I'm not going to be done making the style of videos that I made for the past couple years, the more polished and well edited videos. I'll still definitely be making those, but I want to incorporate more of this style to the channel because one, it'll allow me to get more videos out there. It's super simple for me to just go out for an evening, take some photos, make a little video about it. And if that's valuable to people, I definitely want to continue to do it. And it's nice for me because it just gives me more motivation to go out and shoot photos again. Whereas before, when I felt the need to create this, 20 to 30 minute mini documentary style video with music and all this fancy editing and stuff, it was always a daunting feeling to have to do that on such a regular basis. So I'm hoping that, if this type of video is interesting to people, it'll be a worthwhile endeavor for me to pursue on the channel. And I do think it's a lot more people are interested in this style of content. I hate the word content, but God, I just said it. I can't believe I just said the word content. I hate that word, but I think it's a lot of people just kind of are interested in, the raw, unfiltered version of someone's experience that they're having. I think that's why certain channels on YouTube, like Outdoor Boys, stuff like that, is so successful, is because at the end of the day, a lot of people just want to see that kind of like raw, unfiltered experience. And I guess that's kind of what I might try to do a little bit more. So, if you still find this, somewhat entertaining and valuable, then please let me know, because I'll be sure to continue to make this type of video, and I'll just be able to make a lot more videos. I could even maybe start to get back to one video a week, which would be sweet. But I can't promise that they're going to be as high quality as a lot of the other videos that I have put out in the past, but maybe that's okay. So I would love to hear the feedback and y'all's opinion on the matter. But with that being said, we're getting pretty close to the next spot I want to pull off and shoot at, so let's see how this river is looking today. Ah, shit. Is this really fucking closed right now? Oh. I didn't realize the spot that I wanted to stop at is after the road closure. God dang it. Well, this was kind of a bust, to be honest. How much money do you think I'd have to pay this guy to just let me slide through that gate really quick? And he'd probably lose his job. How much money do you think it would take? I think I have $38 in cash in my wallet I can offer him. All right, I might have found a couple of interesting compositions. One is this landscape shot of the river kind of bending off into the distance. There's a few tree stumps right here in the foreground, which is kind of interesting. I don't even need to shoot this on the tripod necessarily, but sometimes it's nice to be a little bit more methodical, I guess, slow it down a little bit. So that's what I'm gonna do here. And then the other shot that I'm looking at is actually right below me. There's this little patch of water that it's got a bunch of moss running through it, and you can see the moss really well, and I kind of like the way that it looks from up here actually. So I think I'm gonna grab at least one shot of this, maybe two. Not something that I'd usually shoot, but it just caught my eye, and you know, if it catches my eye, then I think it might be worth photographing. So let's just shoot it and see what happens. I think I'll move a little closer, get another frame of it. This really looks cool the way the light's hitting it. It's not like that crazy of a subject or anything, but and we might as well put the 43mm lens on and get a shot with that, right? I'm not using the polarizer because I can see everything I want to see perfectly fine with my bare eyes. So I imagine that's how it's going to look when I get the film back. If I was noticing a bunch of reflections or something that I didn't want in there, I'd throw the polarizer on, but from the looks of it, we should be all right. How do I do this? Well, I'll tell you how I do it. I just take the damn thing off the tripod because I don't fucking need it on there. Why am I making things more complicated than they need to be? How's this for a power stance? Okay, let's be done. Yep, we're done. I've stopped at this gas station just outside of the national park. Maybe the worst lighting I've ever seen in my entire life, but given the circumstances of today and the lack of photos that I was able to get at Mount Rainier, I think I'll still shoot a photo. Actually, the light looks quite a bit better on the other side over here. Shooting into the sun might be questionable with the lens flares, but whatever. I really didn't have high expectations for these images of this little gas and grocery store because it looked like the shadows in front of the building were just going to be a bit too harsh, but I'm actually really pleased with the way they turned out. It also looks like I got the exposures correct by taking a meter reading from the shadows and the highlights and splitting the difference. Okay, I just finished that roll of gold, and to be honest, I just got really fucking tired. I've barely gotten any sleep for the last week. So yeah, what I think I'm gonna do is probably call it a wrap for today. And then in the morning, I'm gonna get up and try to photograph some of that frost on the ground. So apparently my dumbass didn't hit record on the camera when I disclosed my plan to add an additional section on to the end of this video of me getting up the following morning and photographing this beautiful frost that we've been having on the ground in the morning time recently in Washington because of the beautiful sunny weather. It's been cold in the morning. There's been frost all over the ground. It's looked beautiful. So bonus section for this video, get up the following morning, photograph that was my plan. I was trying not to stop, but I've found something worthy of loading up another roll, I think. not sure I'm loving this as much as I thought I would, but I've already pulled over and made the decision to shoot it, loaded the roll up and everything, so too late to turn back now. F11, 1/8 of a second. Shooting it vertically might be kind of cool. Let's go ahead and give that a try. There's a car, like, this, what the hell? This car drove into this barn, it looks like, and it's just been sitting here. Like half of the car is sticking out of the barn. And there's this cool old shitty RV camper thing. So I don't make the rules. Gotta take a couple of photos, it looks like. Sun's directly behind this camper. So backlit. Could be kind of nice. Does look like a job for the 43mm lens. F11, 1/15 of a second. And maybe one more. Couldn't hurt, right? Now I think we get a photo of this car. So this one's gonna be on the 65. The sun is just about to drop behind the tree line off in the distance, but it's still shining through right now, and I think we'll get a little of it in the frame, which will look nice. Sweet. Okay, that should be all, but you never know. There could be a couple more waiting for us before we return home. So I kind of forgot that there's this really nice viewpoint on the drive to Mount Rainier, and the sun is setting right now and the light is beautiful. So definitely grabbing a couple of photos here. Worked out pretty well, actually. So we'll go ahead and do a landscape oriented one as well, just to be safe. Well, as you can see, the light is just beautiful right now. I ended up firing off a few more frames. I actually finished the third roll of gold here at this location, and my video camera battery died, but it might have been a blessing in disguise because I didn't want to miss out on the light as it's just setting below the tree line over there. So not having to deal with the video side of things and just being able to take the last 4 or 5 photos was nice. I think I got a pretty cool one from a ways back of somebody's doing like a photo shoot with their kids or something out in the field here, and it got a wider perspective of that whole scene playing out, and I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, hopefully there's some decent ones. Excited to see how these last few turn out. I think those might be the best of the lot from today. But we're actually going to be driving right by my go-to film lab, Speedy ePhoto, and I think I'm going to make it there before they close at 6, which is ideal because I'll drop all these rolls off and these guys somehow will have them to me in like 2 hours. So pretty wild, but yeah, we'll stop in there, drop off these rolls, and then head home, and be up early in the morning to grab some photos of the frosty streets of Tacoma. I'm looking forward to it. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have gotten up bright and early, earlier than I needed to get up, and I've taken a look out my window to see no frost on the ground. I guess it just didn't get cold enough last night to create the amount of frost that's been happening the previous few days, even though on my weather app, it looked like it was going to get plenty cold. So that's a disappointing start to my morning. Yeah, not really what I was planning on shooting, which is unfortunate, but I guess I'm still going to try to go out and make the most of it. I guess the fog is kind of cool, so maybe there's some stuff we can shoot in the fog. So go load up the car, throw a roll in the camera, and see if we can get anything. Well, this video is turning into a bit of an audible, I guess. Yesterday, I did not expect the road to be closed going up to Paradise. And this morning, the conditions turned out to be pretty much the exact opposite of what I expected. Foggy and not cold enough to produce any frost on the ground, so everything's just wet. There is fog hanging out, which looks kind of cool, so I'm just kind of driving around and seeing if there's anything interesting that catches my eye. But what I've been learning is that usually, even when stuff doesn't work out the way that you planned it, there's some positives to take away. For example, it's nice to be up early. You know, the first 5-10 minutes suck, but once you're up early, it feels good to be up early. And you know, worst case scenario, if I don't end up finding anything, I can still pop into a little coffee shop, get myself a warm beverage or something. Kind of like that truck right here to the left. Maybe I'll take a photo of that. Okay. Looks like if I load up Cinestill 400D, I can shoot everything at 1/125th of a second, f/4.5 or f/5.6. So that's good, because I really didn't want to bring out the tripod for the Mamiya. I have not been enjoying doing that when taking photos in a neighborhood for some reason. The older I get, the more I empathize with homeowners and having a strange photographer take pictures of your house. So yeah, I've been trying to be a little more discreet with that. So let's load up this Cinestill roll and walk around a little bit and start off by taking a photo of this old Ford truck. I don't know if I could tell you the last time I shot 400D. It's been a while. I do like this film stock though a lot. So picture yourself, you get up early, you're having your cup of coffee next to your window, and you see some homeless looking dude with a camera strapped to him, talking to himself, going up to take a photo of your house. I'd be a little concerned. Didn't really highlight any fog in that frame, but it's okay. I think this frame could be pretty cool, but I think I'm gonna throw the Mamiya on the tripod for it just so I can shoot it at f/11 or so. 1/15th of a second at f/11. I always forget to release this curtain. All right. Now we're talking. Welcome to my favorite image of the video. The 43mm lens paired with the depth and layering that the rows of trees provide makes for a really fun photo in my opinion. I'm also pumped that you can clearly see the fog and the way that it affects the feeling of the photo as you look deeper into the composition. In an effort to capture more of this fog ambiance, I'm going to take a wide shot on the 43 here, get that Ford truck that I shot earlier in the corner of the frame. But this really highlights the fog well, I think, so. Kind of like this too, the layering of these trees here. Uh-oh, I just shot way too many photos right there. Alright, let's continue on our journey around Tacoma. Shot a couple more frames of that same scene back there. That's one thing I kind of miss about 35 mil sometimes, is I feel less guilty firing off like 3 or 4 frames of the same scene that are just composed slightly differently. So yeah, I just kind of limited the amount of shots I have left on that roll, but that's all right. Hopefully, you know, one of those is a winner. But yeah, we'll drive to a new spot and find something new for these last 3 shots or so. And then I think I'm fixing to have a little bit of a warm beverage, which unfortunately will most likely be a coffee, which, if you watch my last video, you know is not the best move for me, but I just can't help myself. You know, I was complaining about not having any frost on the ground, but I suppose a glass half full approach to this situation is that at least it's foggy, because that's more interesting than just a normal morning. I mean, this fog looks dang cool. It's just a matter of finding the right compositions to highlight it. I love doing these types of photography outings because I know that when people are looking out their window and watching me drive by their neighborhood super slowly and turn around and do a few laps past their house, they probably think I'm just casing the neighborhood. I actually got questioned about that once in down my own street. Our neighbor came out and thought I was looking to steal something, so you know, it crosses people's minds. So what I'm looking for now is compositions that have a bit of depth to them, something where you can really see the fog start to tail off towards the end of the frame, because I want to, you know, highlight the fog as much as I can, but when you just take a photo straight on of a house or something, it's hard to kind of get a sense of perspective as to, you know, how much fog there is outside. So yeah, I'm looking for something like shot down an alleyway or down a street where you can really see that fog kind of take over as the frame goes on. Spotted this old car, which I really like, and I think this frame right here would look good on the 65, and we're getting a bit of depth in the back of the frame with some of the surrounding houses, so I think it should highlight the fog quite nice. Sun is starting to poke through, means the fog's gonna burn off here pretty quickly. So I got 3 frames left. I'm just gonna try to find something that is worth shooting. Kind of like this truck that's nestled in this driveway here. You can kind of see the sun poking out through the clouds in the background, so this might be cool. I'm just a local photographer. I'm out shooting photos of the fog this morning. Yeah. Thanks. The fog is dissipating, but that's okay because I only have 1 frame left. The sun is poking through and hitting this house really nicely, and there's this old Honda sitting out in front, and the color of the shrubs and stuff looks pretty nice. So this is gonna be the last frame. 65 mil lens looks good. We're looking at 1/125th of a second at f8. All right, I think we made the most of the situation this morning. So I ended up loading a roll of Gold 200 into the Mamiya after I finished that roll of Cinestill 400D, and I'm glad I made the decision to do so. The fog layer lifted very quickly, so I got the sun shining through the clouds on a lot of these frames, which provided some nice, warm morning light. All right. I'm a sucker. I've got my $6.50 16-ounce hot cup of laxative water, and I'm calling it a morning. Film is dropped off at the lab. And even though we were throwing some curveballs in this video with the road closure and not having any frost on the ground, I think I still was able to make the most of it. Still haven't seen a single photo yet, so I'm just hoping that there's a couple, 2 to 3 decent ones in there. Some really cool conditions this morning, actually, and yeah, I think a couple of those photos have a lot of potential. So we will see. Again, let me know what you think of the simpler style of videos. I can crank these out, and it definitely helps me get out and shoot a lot more. So if they're entertaining and valuable at all, I'll continue to make them. But other than that, thanks for watching as always. Take it easy, and I'll catch you very soon. Peace. Squarespace is much more than just a website building platform. You can use it to build a business, sell products, manage inventory, or host an online portfolio. One of my favorite aspects about Squarespace is that because of its extremely intuitive interface and wide selection of creative templates, you can have a professional website up and running in virtually no time, with zero coding required. There's also a new design intelligence feature that helps you get started with the creation of a new website, even if you're not super design savvy. Just punch in some basic info, select what features you'd like on your site, a color palette, and Squarespace will build a quick website that you can further customize to fit your needs. Maybe you're a photographer looking to get new inquiries and increase bookings. Clients can schedule a session directly on your site. Maybe you have a blog and want to offer additional content to community members. Squarespace offers memberships for those creating exclusive content. There's so many features that make Squarespace the one-stop shop for those looking to create or expand their business. If you'd like to receive 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain, head over to squarespace.com/Brae or use code Brae at checkout to do so.